What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. For those of you new, welcome to the channel. We are doing a little bit of a series. It's just short snippets on things to do getting your bike or your toy ready for the spring. In our particular case, it is the 05 R1 that we were going through. Now, we did this build about a year and a half ago, I'd say. And I didn't get many rides in. I've only got about 3 or 4 rides in on the bike because we had so many project bikes. I didn't have a whole lot of time to ride. And now I'm kind of getting to them and riding them and finding things I like, things that I don't like. And I'm trying to change that. Well, you noticed in the last episode that we put the new lithium battery in. Now I'm trying to tackle the next issue with this bike, and that is with the forward controls. When we built this bike, I bought some Amazon forward controls, and I tell you, they're absolutely terrible. So if you guys find, and yes, this bike is filthy, I haven't even washed it yet, you can see all the dust all over it, but if you find controls that look like these right here, pitch them. They are no good, and I'll explain to you exactly why that is. Alright guys, so jumping into it, we're going to start with the clutch. So yeah, this is really frustrating, and I don't know who designed these, but adjusting your clutch, the amount that this thing actually pulls as far as cable length is so minimal that you have to keep this thing on a 6 for it to engage without the clutch, the gears grinding, okay? No matter how you adjust the clutch, it doesn't matter how much you pull this out or you pull down on the actual engine, it's going to grind unless you put it all the way to 6, because this is what determines how much length actually gets pulled out of there. Now, it's really annoying. The reason I say that is because I don't have little hands, and my middle finger barely touches over top of the edge of that. That's really annoying to have to try to grab like that to pull this clutch in. And like I said, if you're coming to stoplight, a lot of times what'll happen is vibration as you're riding will move this thing down to 0. So you go to get back into neutral, and because the clutch isn't pulling far enough out, it won't let you get into neutral. So it's really annoying. Again, I've only done a few rides, but the few of them have all pretty much been the same. It's just been terrible and not fun having to deal with that. And moving on to the brake lever side. Yeah, so as far as distance, this is also kind of far out, but it's not terrible because you can adjust them. Brakes don't matter that much because you see your stopping point is right about there. The problem I have with the brake side, it's absolutely soft and mushy and hardly stops the bike. It's super unsafe. I thought at first maybe I just didn't have them bled, so I did the old racer trick after bleeding about 3 different times and held this thing in overnight until I got a nice firm. You can kind of tell you're doing good when it doesn't go anywhere more than an inch closer to the grip itself, so you're really holding in pretty well. It's got all the micro air bubbles out of it, and it's still mushy. I mean, dangerous. Like, it doesn't swerve left or right or anything. It stops. It's just, I feel like I'm using a mini bike brake. So it's really unsafe. I have to imagine it has to do with the size of the valve in here. I don't know for sure, but regardless, it's unsafe, and somebody else left a review online saying the same thing. I originally had these in the build. I'm going to go ahead and remove those because I don't want people clicking on these. And I'm not going to put a link in this description below to tell you what they are. All you need to do is look at those. If you see anything that looks like that on Amazon, don't buy it. That's pretty much it. So moving forward, how are we going to fix this? For those of you that maybe did the same type of build on your bike, it's not that bad. To our credit, we did have our sponsor help us out, jetmotorsports.net. I believe this is either the Northeast or the Midwest location. They had a ton of parts. I was really looking for an FC09 set, like maybe a 15 and newer. That's really what, if I had a choice, what I'd shoot for, but because it was free, it didn't cost us anything because it's our partner. We actually ended up settling on some Ninja, I believe they're Ninja 250, the newer Ninja 250, the newest one, both the clutch perch and the front brake lever. So I'm super excited about that, and I actually think that our levers that we bought might actually work in these. I don't know for sure. I got to try them. But we'll see. Anyways, we're not using any of this, obviously. We're only using the clutch perch and actually the brake reservoir. The cool thing about these, much like the FC09, they have the things built in for the mirrors. That was one of the biggest gripes I had with most of the things I could find, because naturally I would have just stuck with an R1 clutch and brake perch, but they didn't have these. And if I still had them, they do make some aftermarket pieces that go on these end caps right here that have these holes built into them for the mirrors, but the problem with that is it gets kind of far in and it looks kind of awkward, so I didn't want that, and it just happened to be that the FC09 and these ones worked out perfect. I did look at a Z1000, but all the ones I saw in that were kind of old and beat up, so it's kind of getting overboard. So right now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to pull off these old hoopties right here. They got to go, and we're going to get ready to put on these used Ninja 250 ones. Alright, so moving forward, we had some ups and some downs. Not really a big deal. One downside is it looks like we won't be able to use these levers, and I'll share with you why. If you look at the difference here, you'll see that the old one's kind of split in half, where the Ninja 250 has kind of a half moon-shaped one inside there. Clearly these aren't going to bolt together, they won't work. 99% of the time they look just like this one, so I'm surprised to see that this one's different. Which is okay, because we got the purchase for free, so I can't complain. If I gotta buy levers, I'll go ahead and order those, and I'll have them in for this video. You guys won't know the difference. I would be able to swap the red and the green, so if it did work out and the brake lever side worked, then I could probably just keep this. It's a little bit faded, but not terrible, and just put the red on there and use that. But like I said, I don't mind buying new levers if we need so. Everything else seems to be working out well. The last thing that I have to do, obviously, is push this thing forward, and I have to connect the connector that will go from the R1 to the clutch sensor right here in the perch. So let me get that done real quick, and we'll move forward. Okay, and so now all that's back together, and what I want to do is I want to get a little foresight into the difference of as far as leverage on how much the cable is being pulled out, and just to show you, it's going to be kind of hard to see, kind of an equivalent of how much difference. It's tough to see right here, but this this red one sticks out about an inch farther than the basically green one that's on there right now. But what I want to do is I want to go ahead and I want to test the distance from this flat back that you see right here to the center of this one. It's pulled wide open, and we'll see, kind of get a foresight to see how much better it's going to be and how much more leverage we're getting with the Ninja 250 perch. Alright, so basically this little flat piece that you see right here, that ledge, and the center of this, which is pulled wide open, is what we're looking for here. And from what I'm figuring here, it looks like it's right around 30 millimeters. Let's look at the other. Okay, and so just as I suspected, our flat piece is here that you'll see right there. You can see that right there. And then our center being here. And we're about exactly the same at right around 30 millimeters. So what that means is, with this particular lever set up here, we are going to have the same exact pull, which will work wide open on our 6, but almost an inch shorter or closer to our handlebar or our grip than the other was. So that's really what I needed. I can actually pull a clutch in now, even if it's only pulled out to a 6. As long as the new levers fit on well like they should, I think we're in business. Okay, so I got the old brake perch off. I got the new one mounted on here right now. Something to keep in mind, if you guys don't already know, you probably already know this, but do not get the brake fluid on your bike, because it will eat the paint off anything on it or around it. So it's very corrosive and very bad for your paint. That said, I was able to separate it. I left a cloth underneath here so I didn't kill the carbon fiber. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and fill up this brake reservoir with some .4. And before I connect this thing, I'm going to go ahead and pump the brake lever to get it pouring out. So basically it's going to run through these tiny little holes here, all the way out to where it needs to be, where the hole comes out right here. And then at that point, I know that there's really not much air bubbles, and so that's less I got to work through the lines. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get that hooked up. I'll hook up this line right here, and then what we'll do is we'll start pumping this thing, we'll get the lever on, and we should be good to go after that. Okay, so far everything looks really good. Clutch feels really good. Brake is still a little soft, so I'm going to do the old school racer effect, which is, it comes to here, but I'm going to go ahead and bring it as tight as I can. I'll pump it 15, 20 times. Hold it tight. I'm going to wrap some tape around there. We'll come back tomorrow morning. That should be a little bit tighter. We'll test our brakes. Okay, and so as you can see, I decided not to use tape. I didn't really want sticky residue on the grip, so I just went ahead and used some twine. Good enough. Again, we left this sit all overnight. It's time to pull this thing off right now, see how much tighter it is, and then bring this bike for a ride. Alright, so guys, the bike rode great. I have no complaints whatsoever. It stopped like it should. It didn't have quite the stopping power, obviously, as the R1 Master Cylinder would have if I had the R1 Master Cylinder. However, I have no complaints because it's 1,000% better than the junk Amazon forward controls that I had on it. So definitely excited about that. If for some reason in the future I decide that I want more braking power, I'll pick up a set of FC09 front brake master cylinders. But I don't think that's going to be a problem. I think I'm pretty happy so far with the way this thing is set up. I never thought I would say or think that a Ninja 250 part would be an upgrade, but call that what it is, I guess, right? Anyways, next Friday we will have an episode coming out about a rear 190 tire upgrade and doing an oil change on this bike, so stick around for that. If you guys liked the video, definitely throw that thumbs up. And if you haven't already, click that subscribe button so you guys will get a notification when this new video comes out next week. That said, I'll see you in the next one.